just visited with incredible families that, look, they've been devastated. They lost their child or two children, and just hard to believe what, I've never seen anything like it, a little narrow river that becomes a monster, and that's what happened.
A narrow river that became a monster. President Trump stunned by the July 4th devastation in Texas after flash floods ravaged central Texas. At least 129 people have died and more than 160 are still missing. And more extreme weather could be on the way. Earlier this morning, the National Weather Service issued flash flood emergency warnings. The areas of potential impact, that could be the Colorado Bend State Park and surrounding areas, that is in central Texas. Joe Penland is a Texas businessman and founder of the joefromtexas.com. Also with us is Thaddeus Cleveland. He is the sheriff of Terrell County, Texas, and he is a retired Border Patrol agent. Great to have you both here. Sheriff, with more potential flooding coming, what's changed since July 4th, and how are people preparing in these impacted areas we just mentioned?
Hi, John. Great to be back on with you. And of course, first and foremost, we're still thinking of those families and those first responders that are down in that area. Continue to look for those that are still missing. But just like the day before the storm, and look, my wife works for Texas Division of Emergency Management. I get to listen into some of their telecons. We had people pre-deployed to that area, and as well as aircraft and boats. So, a lot of times just these storms can take their own route and, dump a lot more rain than we anticipated. But Texas is still prepared. My wife's currently deployed up in the Concho Valley, which is San Angelo, Texas. And I've been seeing weather warnings and messages on Facebook from some of my friends that are law enforcement down that way. So they lay prepared and ready to see what comes their way.
That's great to hear, Sheriff. And Joe, what are you hearing about the recovery efforts here, as many families are still holding out hope?
Well, we're also praying for them on this end too. But Texas is no stranger to floods. We have them with the hurricanes and so forth, but we've never had something like this that impacts that many people that quick. A hurricane gives you 3 or 4 or 5 days, sometimes a week. Tornado, you have a shorter response. But these flash floods in hill country, you can be prepared, but nobody's prepared for water to rise 30 foot in an hour. That's just unheard of. It is unfortunate it came at night, and it's certainly unfortunate and a tragedy that this many people have lost their life.
Yeah, absolutely. It is devastating to see those images. And Sheriff, I want to take a look at the timeline here of the weather warnings going into July 4th. Take a look at this. We had this made July 2nd. This was the Texas Division of Emergency Management. They issued a state emergency. Shortly after, the National Weather Service issued a short-term guidance. Again, then they upgraded that to a flood outlook just a few minutes later, or about a half an hour later. Then the county mayors, they discussed this forecast on July 3rd as well at 10 a.m. And then there were more updates given for the Guadalupe River at 6:30 p.m. on July 3rd. Could more have been done here to alert people of this tragic situation? Or, as you mentioned, did the water just come in that fast?
No, and I think Joe articulated that very well. Again, unpredictable. And in our county, actually, that system, we're about 3 hours to the west of Kerrville, and we had flooding. Of course, I posted that on our social media to let our residents know. And it was about midday when that storm dumped out here in our portion. And I got to say that our community is no stranger to flooding either. We just had our 60th anniversary on June 11th of a flood here in Terrell County in Sanderson that killed 26 people. It was a few years before I was born, but I can tell you it's still fresh on people's minds. And again, Texas TDM, Texas Division of Emergency Management, they have very robust, they are the best in the business. And they were prepared and ready. Again, just, at the time of day and the quick level of river rising caught people unexpectedly.
Joe, a lot of people have made this about politics. I want to play this soundbite here from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
My heart is truly heavy for all of these families. The sad part is, I think that my heart is going to carry a level of weight that will continue to weigh me down as we have to continue to do our best to survive an administration that literally is against us. An administration that is doing everything, in my mind, to hurt us and not help us.
Now, I also want to play this because she comes out with those comments, but then you see this scene here on Friday of President Trump and Chip Roy. Watch this.
I can't thank you enough. When I called you on Friday, you said whatever you need. When I called the secretary's office, she called me within 15 minutes and said whatever you need, and then she came here this weekend. I've never seen such a quick response and such a focus on delivering for the people.
So as we know, Chip Roy, as well as President Trump, they butted heads over the big, beautiful bill. But in a time of crisis like this, what did that mean to see them come together for the state of Texas, Sheriff?
Well, you know, when they could, I'm sorry, is it me or the sheriff?
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, but what you see is people are always going to point blame. There's no two ways about it. What you really got to glean out of what happened on July 4th is we're not in control as humans. We're not completely in control. Now, are we going to do something different going forward? Sure we will. We'll pick up the pieces and go forward. It's a tragedy. We've got to learn something from this, but point and blame at one another is not going to fix the situation. There's a lot of things that's probably going to come out of this. It'll be better prepared for next time, but just sitting here pointing the blame, I think that's completely un-American at this state. I would never take any stock in what people do when they point the blame after a tragedy.
Yeah, Sheriff, I'll give you last word there as well.
Hey, Joe, again, that's a great response, and I couldn't feel any different. Look, I was patrol agent in charge of a Border Patrol station here, and if something went wrong, I took that on my shoulders. But, you know, never going to look to point the finger and lay blame. What they did in our county to fix the flood system, they built 11 dams around Terrell County. So the state, FEMA, they're going to look at what they can do differently, and we do appreciate the support of President Trump.
Yeah, and we're all watching your state. We hope that this weather system passes, and we're praying for all those families out there who are still missing loved ones. Joe Penland, thank you so much for coming on. Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland, always a pleasure having you both.
Thank you,
Thank you.
John.
God bless.
A friendship.